What's up, y'all? This is Brave, and I'm back with another review of a new series. It is the show Forever, which is on Netflix. And you guys, I watched this show straight through. I binged it, and I really enjoyed it. I definitely did see a few flaws, but overall, I feel like this show has such good storytelling. I think it captured the essence of young love. And also, I feel like this show really captured what it is like to be a teenager, having, feelings of self-doubt, not knowing what you want to do with your future, and also just trying to figure out who you are as a person. So let's go ahead and talk about the show, okay? So first of all, I have to say shout out to Mara Brock-Akil because this woman knows how to make a show. I've been following her career for a while. Of course, we loved all her work that she did on Girlfriends. She had another show called Love Is that was amazing, and unfortunately that show got canceled. But I feel like that woman knows how to tell a story, okay? Now, keep in mind, this show is actually a fresh take on a Judy Blume book that is titled Forever. And let's just get into it, okay? All right, so let me go ahead and give y'all a little background of what this show is about. Now, Forever follows the story of Keisha and Justin, two Black teenagers navigating the complexities of first love. Now, this show is set in 2018 in Los Angeles, okay? Keisha, she's portrayed by Levy Simone, and she is this track star. She's aiming to go to Howard University, and she ends up falling for a guy by the name of Justin. He's played by Michael Cooper Jr., and he plays basketball. Now, at the same time as him playing basketball, baby, he is dealing with ADHD. And I mean, he has a serious case of ADHD, and he's also constantly feeling the pressures of his family having high expectations of him. Now, we do see that their paths cross at a party, and come to find out they went to the same preschool or kindergarten together, and they kind of rekindled their relationship. They started out as friends, clearly had interest with each other, and it just blossomed into this love story, okay? Now, keep in mind, this is a teenage show, okay? And of course, we are going to hit on a few things that teenagers go through. I personally feel like this show really encompassed what teenagers go through when it comes to consent, when it comes to mental health, the impact of social media, digital privacy. There's so many things that they touched on. And honestly, I feel like a lot of shows, for some reason, they want to shy away from social media. They won't really use it. They act like people still make phone calls for real. Or I feel like when it comes to these teenage shows, they don't really give them a social life in the sense of they're posted on social media. We see what's going on. We hardly see that. You know what I'm saying? So I love that they incorporated that in this show because it plays a huge part of what goes down, okay? Okay, so I feel like, how am I going to do this, guys? Okay, so I feel like I'm going to kind of do a character by character development, and then we're going to round everything out, okay? Now, the first character that I want to talk about, honestly, y'all, I'm going to talk about the friends real quick because I feel like Keisha and Justin had pretty cool friends, okay? However, some of the things the friends did was a little questionable. Now, Chloe, I love me some Chloe. She was really down for Keisha. You know what I mean? Ride or die. Even had this girl go with her to Martha's Vineyard, okay? Now, if you did not watch the show, at one point, Keisha and Justin, they broke up. And Keisha knew that his family would always go to Martha's Vineyard. Well, baby, she made her way on down there trying to get her man. And Chloe was right there, okay? Chloe was right there by her side. I did like seeing their dynamic. to me, Chloe and Keisha definitely felt like a genuine friendship. And I think it was also realistic. Because here's the thing, Keisha went to a school that was predominantly white. You know what I'm saying? So it made sense for her bestie to be white. But also, I did love to see that when she was at her new school, she did make friends with the girls who were on the track team, and they were, majority were black girls. I said, okay, I really like the setup of this. When it comes to Justin, his friend Darius, y'all, I wasn't sure how I was going to like Darius. And the reason why I felt that way was because when he figured out who Keisha was and he knew about the tape that she had out, you know, he kept trying to tell Justin, you need to find somebody else. You need to find another girl. I was just kind of like, now, wait a minute. I'm going to need you to scoot back a little bit, little boy. But overall, Darius was cool. However, y'all, I don't know what happened when we got to episode 7. When we got to episode 7, they did not even include that there was a time jump. Throughout this entire series, and this is one of the flaws I was talking about, throughout the series, they would like put on the screen that it was a time jump. It'll be like 3 months later, or this happened in January, but we jumped to March. Like something like that. Baby, we open up episode 7. Keisha got a new hairstyle. Justin had cut his hair off, and y'all, Darius magically grew hair. I mean, those braids was janky. I gotta be honest. Those braids was janky. I have no idea why we gave him braids. It made absolutely no sense. Like, honestly, it was giving either they stopped production and the show wasn't finished yet and then they came back to production, or did they just switch up the hair and makeup team? Like, I was confused as to why Darius came back with them braids. I mean, they were just so out of pocket. Now, let's move on to the family, okay? Let me get to the cousins, and then we're going to move on to the parentals, okay? I loved Keisha's cousin. Keisha's cousin Brittany is very much on brand with Brave, okay? I am very much like the cousin Brittany. Good personality, always trying to have a good time. That's my vibe. I will say I definitely love that Keisha had family that she can lean on. However, we all know she did not tell them about the situation with Christian, which I will talk about in a minute. But it is good to see people have cousins that they can always, you know, bounce back on. They can always hang out with. You know, one of her cousins was doing her hair. Like, it's good to see that Keisha has always been surrounded by a really good family. Even though they may not be upper echelon, you know what I'm saying? They was on the east side. They was in Compton. They were in Inglewood. I still feel like it shows that you don't always have to be rich to be, you know, surrounded by a bunch of love and surrounded by people who care about you. Because as we all know, Keisha's family ain't rich, okay? They don't have money like that, but they're rich in other areas. Now, we got to talk about Justin's friend cousin. I mean, I guess you can even call it play cousin. We got to talk about Shannon real quick, okay? Now, when we go to Martha's Vineyard, right, I'm assuming that their families basically come together every summer so that way they can hang out in the vineyard. Cool, right? Here's the thing about Shannon, though. Shannon has a conversation with Justin, and she basically says that she wants him to be her first. He's like, baby, this is a little weird, okay? This is a little bit weird for me because we done grew up together. Where's all this coming from? And Shannon goes on to explain that basically she wanted her first to be with somebody who she knew, she trusted, and she knew that she could have that in Justin. Now, is this weird? A little bit, but y'all don't hate me for this, but it really did make me wonder, how often are these people around each other? Because it sounds like they see each other once a year. You know what I'm saying? It seems like they only see each other during this trip to Martha's Vineyard. And then it kind of made me think of another show that I watched, which was The Summer I Became Pretty. And if I'm not mistaken, there was a situation where like these kids grew up together. They were always friends. Their families were cool. And then they start dating. So when I thought about it from that perspective, I said, okay, yes, they call each other cousins, but also black people have a thing of calling people their cousins that's not their cousins. As they play cousin. I just kind of feel like if we take the whole cousin, title off of it, I do understand where Shannon is coming from. First of all, she's about to go off to college, right? And at the end of the day, she has known this guy her entire life. She knows that she can trust him. She knows that, it's not a situation where he's going to go break her heart or anything like that. So I do understand her thought process of, if I'm going to lose my virginity, maybe it should be with somebody that I know ain't going to do me dirty. Because this to me sounded like she just wanted to hook up with him and get it over with. You know what I'm saying? So that takes the pressure off of her when she goes into college and she's meeting guys and it's a whole thing of, oh my gosh, I don't want to be her first because then she's going to get too clingy. Let's not act like we have not all heard that phrase. So honestly, I didn't hate Shannon like that. I just kind of feel like she was also a girl who was seeking some type of validation. And we had to deal with that with Keisha as well. I think that a lot of girls who are in high school, that's all they want. They want to be liked. They want to be told that they're pretty. They want to be desirable. And honestly, that is something that we've literally taught girls since they were young. That you want to fall in love. You want someone to look at you and say that you're beautiful. You want to be desired. And they're just acting on it. Also, girls have hormones too. Like, I think it's always interesting that people always want to talk about, oh, boys are so this, that, another. But like she told Justin, like, baby, these are raging hormones for me as well. So let's go ahead and get into some action. Now, we all know that Justin does not do it. Like, as much as they were talking about this, and even though she flashed him and all of that, when I think of like the grand scheme of how this story unfolded, I personally don't think that Justin would have did it. I don't think that he would have smashed Shannon, y'all. I really think they probably would have gotten to the point where they were going to start doing some things, getting touchy-feely, and he would have been like, nope, because I'm thinking about Keisha. I really feel like that's how that would have gone. All right, now moving on from that situation, you guys, we have to talk about the parentals. Oh my gosh. When I tell y'all, I have not seen a really good depiction of a family in a very long time, you guys. I have not seen it where there are parents who are actually parenting. Now, am I the target demographic for this show? Absolutely not. However, I am sick and tired of seeing TV shows where the teens are just running around doing whatever the hell they want to do. There's no repercussions for their actions. There's no adult supervision. Like, this is probably the first time that I have seen parents actually do their fucking job, okay? Now, I'm going to start with Justin's parents, okay? I think they were the perfect actors to play this role. Oh my God, I love me some Wood Harris. He's so amazing. I think that the woman who played Justin's mom, she was great as well. I want to say her name is it Karen Pittman? Yeah, I believe it's Karen Pittman. I think she did a great job being Justin's mom. You know what? Let me go ahead and talk about his dad first, and then I'm going to talk about his mother. Here's the thing. I think that because of Justin's dad's own life experiences, because we learned that he didn't go to college. He kind of made his own way. We know that he is a businessman. He owns some restaurants. They're about to expand. Like, he has had a lot of experience, right? And he's a black man, so he already knows the types of things that, Justin is going to be going through. And the way he is able to handle situations and the way that they affect the family, y'all, oh my God. Listen, I know that there were a few times that Dawn seemed like she was overreacting, or she was going overboard with some of her choices and decisions. But the way that he handled his wife, I loved it, because he never disrespected her. He never argued with her. However, he always made it be known that, hey, we raise our boy right, so let's let him grow up. I feel like Eric truly understood what it was like to be young before. And I feel like a lot of parents, they forget what it was like to be young. They forget what it was like to be in love with someone, and it's your first love and all of that. We have all these high expectations on these kids, but sometimes we lack understanding. And I feel like Eric always met Justin where he was at. He always tried to give him sound advice. He always tried to keep a level head. There was never a time where we saw him be, oh, I'm just so disappointed in you, or going off on him. That man always kept it so level-headed. And, I loved it. I loved it so much. So much. And also the way he handled Dawn. Because let's be honest, Dawn, she do not play about her son. And you can clearly see the perfect balance that they were as a couple, okay? He balanced her out so well. Oh, my God, y'all. So good. So good. Now, we got to move on to Dawn, because when it comes to Justin's mom, I feel like she was a damn good mother, y'all. I know that I have seen a few videos online where they're like, oh my God, she was the worst. She was always on his head. Hold on, y'all. I think that we also have to remember this show, it takes place in 2018, y'all. At this point, we have seen multiple black men be murdered at the hands of the police. At this point, we have also just seen the way black people are treated in America. You're raising a young black man, okay? And she really just wanted the best for her son. Now, do I feel like she was being pushy about him going to Northwestern? No, I don't. Let me tell y'all something. The thing that I really loved about Dawn's character is that she literally had to sit back and realize that at some point, I don't even want to say that they failed their son. I think that at some point she did realize, like, hey, my son, yes, does he love basketball? Does he enjoy playing it? Yes. Do we really think that he is going to reach the NBA? No. And I think that a lot of parents, especially black parents, need to have those conversations with their kids. Because, for example, when she kept telling that boy, hey, you got to get your grades up. You got to do this while you're, in class. You got to focus. He was bullshitting. I'm sorry, y'all. I really do enjoy Justin's character, but I have to call a thing here. Did Justin have ADHD? Absolutely. However, Justin's mother and father provided him with a lot of tools that he chose not to use. He chose not to utilize them. That boy was literally in the classroom daydreaming when he should have been focused on taking his test, right? When he got to the end, the bell rang. Everybody gets up. And the teacher comes over and says, Justin, don't even worry about it. Because of your situation, you have an additional 20 minutes. He did not take advantage of that. He does not take his ADHD medicine. Also, let's not forget that she came into his room and said, hey, Justin, your Spanish teacher said that you didn't turn in your project or your assignment. That boy said, oh, you know what? I can just send her an email right now and it's fine. I can turn it in later. So I'm just trying to figure out, what were y'all expecting his mother to do? At this point, her son is lying to her. Because let's be completely honest, they are doing a damn good job considering their child has ADHD. They're giving him tutors. They made sure to notify the school so that way he gets extra time to take his test. Like, I think that his mom was doing a damn good job. And she realized that, hey, you're putting all your energy into basketball, but really, that's not what's going to really get you into college, especially considering you're not getting any playtime. No one's checking for you from like a D1, D2 school. I don't know if there's a D3 or not, but nobody's coming to see you. So we need to pivot. We need to pivot and figure out what else you can do. She's using her connections from Northwestern to try to help her son get into college, y'all. Like, and I get it. He did not want to go to that school, but she was doing the best that she knew how to be able to provide her son with a good life. She wants to set him up so that way he can be good. Because I'm sorry, there are far too many black men who were black boys whose family told them, oh yeah, you're going to be the one that gets us out the hood because you play good football and you play good basketball. And those boys, they literally base their whole life around basketball and football, and they don't make it to the pros. Hell, some of them don't even make it to fucking college, but they are still chasing a hoop dream. Okay? And what did we see? We saw that in Keisha's daddy. And baby, we about to get to him in a second. But let me finish up on Dawn. I just really feel like she was doing a great job of trying to do the best for her son. Okay? And she wants her son to succeed regardless of the fact that he had ADHD. Okay? I think she did a great job. And the way that she saw when Keisha was at that park and her ex-boyfriend was over there talking to her, and she could just see and feel that her son was going through it because he literally saw his girlfriend basically, just walk over to be with some other boy. And the way she's like, all right, we got to get my son to practice. You know what I mean? Listen, that is her firstborn son, okay? So of course, she's going to be overprotective of him. Of course, she was going to feel some type of way about seeing Keisha when they got to, what's that place called? Martha's Vineyard. Like, she's still protective of her son because at the same time, he is growing up, but he's still going to be her baby. You know what I'm saying? And I think with the help of her husband, she saw that her son was growing up. And she had to give him some leeway. She had to give him some space. So that way he can be the man that they are raising him to grow into. Now, unfortunately, when it came down to finding out about Keisha's situation, first things first, y'all, why did Joan look like she could be Chloe mama? If y'all go back and watch that scene when Joan is telling Dawn about Keisha's tape, why did she look like she could be Chloe mama? But that's neither here nor there. Now, did she overreact to Keisha having a tape? Yes. But at the same time, again, she only wants the best for her son. Okay? And she literally came back and she realized like, hey, I was too hard on her. Keisha needs a village. And the fact that she gave her son that ultimatum to be like, listen, Keisha needs to tell her mother. I love that because, baby, that is a lot for a teenage girl to have to carry. And then I love the way she actually reached out to Keisha's mother so that they can, bond and be like, girl, I got you. Like, that right there was some real sisterhood. You know what I'm saying? And I just feel like Dawn was a great character. Great, great character. Now, let's go ahead and move on to Keisha's parents. Y'all, I like Keisha's mama. I really did. I think she was a woman who was trying her best, okay? She was trying her best. She wasn't wealthy. She trying to, get the bills paid. We also have to remember that Keisha had a full ride scholarship to the school that she was going to. And then she decides, I'm getting bullied at school, even though we all know it's because of a tape, and her mother doesn't know that. They transfer her to a different school. She has to pay tuition. That's even more added pressure on her mother's plate, right? Now, here's the thing. I feel like there's some people who feel like, oh, it's clear that, Keisha's mom didn't really talk to her. She wasn't really involved. And yes, Keisha's mother always had to go to work, okay? But I think there's a lot of mothers who have to do that sacrifice of working multiple jobs so that way they can provide their kids with everything that they need. And sometimes, yes, they're not around as much as they would like to be with their children, but I'm not going to hold that against them because they're doing their best. Keisha's mother was a woman who was doing her best. And when it came down to the whole situation with Keisha and Christian, of course, when Christian came back around, she just thought this was her daughter's little boyfriend, okay? He's sending her flowers and he's being nice to her. I don't even think her mother was, thinking about how he's supposed to go to the professional leagues and all of that. That was not her mindset. I think her mother just wanted her daughter to be happy, even though she did not know that Christian has caused her daughter so much harm. Now, when it came down to Keisha finally telling her mom what went down, I think that was a lot for Keisha's mom to have to digest. That was a lot. First of all, you find out that your daughter has a sex tape with her boyfriend, okay? Now, this happened. Your daughter has got humiliated at school. You thought that she was leaving for one reason, but really it was for something else. This boy done played in your fucking face and your daughter's face because he done came back around. Your daughter done went to prom with the boy because she think that it's going to make you be happy. It's a lot to unpack here. And at the end of the day, was she harsh on her daughter? Absolutely. But also, I'm going to be completely honest with y'all. The fact that they said that it was a sex tape, I personally thought that she did more than what was in the video because that's how they kind of set it up. So I feel like that's why her mom thought that it was more that happened. Not that it was going to change her perspective or anything, but I just kind of wish that Keisha would have been like, oh no, mom, I didn't go all the way, or you know what I mean? But nonetheless, I know that she blew up on Keisha. Like I said, I feel like that was a lot for any mother to have to hear all at once. You know what I'm saying? Then it puts you into perspective of like, was I a bad mom? Did I raise her to not respect herself enough? Or, you know what I mean? Because, that's the thought process that some people have when it comes to like sex tapes and, all types of things that be happening. But the way that Keisha's mom came back around when Keisha went to go stay at her cousin's house, baby, she didn't even stay over there for a week, okay? Keisha mama was at the door. I think she may have gone over there for half a day? Because legit, she told her mama went to work, came back, and then Keisha ended up chilling with Justin. Then she said, oh, take me to my cousin's house. No, take me to my cousin's shop. She get her hair done, goes home with her cousin, and baby, Keisha mama was at the door. Okay? I can respect that because she didn't really let it linger too long. She did, apologize to Keisha. And honestly, I understand why Keisha's mother says somebody got to be in trouble for this. Somebody has to go to jail for this. Somebody got to go down because it's horrible the way we treat young women to have to always, they have to take the brunt of the joke. They have to be the ones that are, oh my gosh, I can't believe she did that. I hate that we even do that in society, first of all, because it's like, baby, it took two to tango. What are we talking about? But also, if I want to be completely honest with y'all, I don't think, now this might be a interesting take, but I don't think that this should have been set in 2018. Okay? And here's the reason why I'm saying this, y'all. When I think of Keisha basically, going down on her boyfriend, right? If we're in 2018, keep in mind this is her boyfriend. I am surprised that nobody at the school was like, oh my gosh, who cares? That's her boyfriend. Because I feel like by 2018, we were a bit more progressive. And also at the same time, these were also the same kids who went to Brookwood. It's called Brookwood. Yeah. They went to Brookwood, went to Chloe's house. Keep in mind, her best friend, Keisha's best friend, they went to Chloe's house, put their fucking names in a hat, and hopefully it was going to be some girls who were giving out blowjobs. Because y'all remember when Justin was talking to Darius, he basically was like, yeah, what happens when somebody pulls your name out the hat? And he was like, basically, hopefully that's what happened for you. So I'm just trying to figure out, why was it so bad when it was Keisha, but y'all are handing out blowjobs at parties? So that's why I'm like, had this honestly been set in like 2009, 2010? And I know that's not far of a distance, but please know, if you go back to the girlies who were in high school in like 2006 to 2010, them girls, you wouldn't ever catch them say, I went down on my boyfriend, I gave him head. Girl, them girls used to think that was the plague, okay? Oh, I never do that. I ain't never gonna do that. Listen, that's all I'm gonna say, okay? The girlies used to be like, that's something that we don't do. However, by the time we got to 2018, things were a little bit different. So that's why when they're telling this story about how Keisha and her boyfriend had a sex tape, y'all, I personally thought that, so she actually like went all the way with him, because that I can understand. But her giving him a little sloppy toppy, y'all, in 2018, baby, I feel like that video would have been hot for a second, and then some other teen drama would have taken over. Like, I just thought it was so wild that the whole school was like, oh my God, I can't believe Keisha, and giving her, crazy whispers and looks. And I'm just like, but y'all was handing out blowjobs. Like, what are we, you get what I'm saying, y'all? Am I making any sense? Please let me know, because I'm just like, I don't know. That was just something that like stood out to me. But nonetheless, back to Keisha mama, y'all, because I done went on a whole different rampage here. I did like Keisha's mom, okay? Keisha daddy though, Keisha's daddy, y'all, I did not like that man. I'm sorry. It's the fact that Keisha has made excuses for her father. She absolutely has. Because what? Little girls love to be daddy's girls, right? But here's the thing. Sometimes when your dad's around when you're young and then he slowly begins to drift off and disappear, you are still craving to be daddy's little girl. Because here's the thing, and this is when I realized this. When Keisha told the story about how her dad wanted to play baseball, right? He wanted to play baseball, and come to find out, her grandfather actually played baseball as well. He did not make it to the pros or whatever. He never got called up for the pros. When it came to his son, which is Keisha's dad, he played baseball very well. He did not make it to the pros as well. But also it's because George told Keisha's dad, you go ahead, skip that. You're not going to make it to the pros. Don't even try to take that, opportunity. And here's my thing, y'all. As much as Keisha was saying that basically it was George stopping her dad from really being this big baseball player, this could also be a sign that George saw something in his son that he realized he was not going to be the baseball star that he always dreamed of. The same way that Justin's mom saw that, listen, my son, he likes to play basketball. He plays ball good. However, is he NBA material? No. Is he going to get called up for a D1 school, D2 school? He's not. So, baby, let's pivot. And I feel like that's the same thing that happened to Keisha's father. I think that his dad saw something in him and was like, yeah, I think that you ain't ready for the big leagues. And I don't think it was on no hater shit. I really don't. I think that he saw something in his son to be like, you're flaky. And as we saw, he is flaky. That man was flaky in Keisha's life. Like, honestly, I don't even understand how he was still in a lot of the episodes, because I said, where were you at her whole junior year? Where were you at her whole, you know what I mean, sophomore year, sir? Like, I know that he's supposed to be like this photographer and he's traveling around the world and they, share photos with each other. But baby, that's not enough. And the fact that now I will say I respect the fact that he could admit that he was an absentee father, but also it's like and you left Keisha's mom with a whole burden to raise this girl on her own. She had to handle that on her own while you were doing what? Taking pictures around the world, but not coming to see your child? Yeah, give it a side eye to him. Now, was he lost in this world? Absolutely. So could he recognize that in Justin? Yes. But like I said, the correlation is that there's also somebody else saying that these people, they need to pivot. Okay? Now, when he met Justin, y'all, and how he was just being hard on him for no reason, I was a bit annoyed because I feel like it went too long. It absolutely went too long. George had to step in and tell him that he needs to chill out. And what was so crazy is that when Justin was saying how he make beats, right? And Keisha daddy was like, oh, you make beats, you need to produce, you need to rap, you need to do all the things. And George was like, okay, well, do you make songs? That man said, no, I play baseball. Nigga, you don't play baseball. What you do is you are a photographer. Why didn't you lead with that, sweetheart? Because again, you were one of those black boys who was still chasing those dreams of playing some type of sport when you may not have been ready for the big leagues. I just gotta call it like I see it. But moving on, that was the parentals. Y'all, now we have to get into Justin and Keisha, our main characters. All right, so let me go ahead and start with Keisha. I feel like Keisha's character is definitely the epitome of a lot of black girls who are trying to navigate being a teenager, making mistakes, and how to handle those mistakes, okay? Because at the end of the day, everybody is going to make some type of mistake. Now, we all know that Keisha is a track star. I kind of wish that we would have saw more of her on the field, because we did see a lot more shots of Justin when he's playing basketball. But nonetheless, Keisha knows who she is and she knows what she wants. We all knew from the beginning that she wanted to go to Howard University. And here's my thing, what I noticed, you guys. When it comes to Keisha's character, we all knew that she wanted to go to Howard University. But we never knew what she wanted to study. We never knew what she actually wanted to do with her life. So I found it very interesting that we never got that discussion from her. However, when it came to Justin, they wanted Justin to know what he wanted to do with his life, period. Okay? We just knew that she wanted to be, is it a Bison, I think? I think it's a Howard Bison. And that's cool, because it sounded like both of them were going to be going to college undecided. They did not have decided majors, okay? We got to talk about the whole situation with Christian and how she tried to navigate that by herself. Here's the thing. Christian tried to apologize to her because he leaked that video, or he sent the video to his friend, but his reasoning was not good enough for me. because he literally said, I wanted to show my white friend that, white girls aren't the only ones who give oral good. I wanted to, show him what you could do. I'm sorry, what? You were still so out of pocket, sir. Like, to me, him sending the flowers and, attempting to apologize, that still wasn't good enough for me. When she showed up to that training with the Nike people, I said, girl, get up out of here. Like, I thought that, honestly, there was going to be a little bit more drama with Christian than what it was. But it was just enough so that it did not linger on this entire season, which I actually thank God for. Because sometimes on the teenage shows, the back and forth will last the entire season. So here's the thing when it comes to Keisha. When she actually does go on a date with Justin, because like I said, they met at a party and they exchanged numbers. They realized that they had went to preschool together. I think it's preschool or kindergarten. And, they go out, I think the next day. And Justin ends up buying her a bag. And here's the thing. He was literally doing it because he's nice. And unfortunately for her, she thought that she had to do other things for him because of that. And I felt so bad for her in that moment, because when she tried to do some things in the movie theater, he was shocked, whoa, what are you doing? She felt that it was because he had seen her tape. And that was absolutely not the case. He had not seen anything about Keisha. The only thing that he knew was that he liked this girl. He thought that she was really pretty. He wanted to get to know her. Also, this is the first girl to even notice Justin at this point. And just the complexities of this girl being 16 years old. Unfortunately, she had a tape go out and everyone is judging her. So now when she does encounter other men, or shall I say other boys, she's in her head the whole time. She's in her head. She's not comfortable, but she's trying to make the best of the situation. She basically told Justin that she ain't talked to nobody since that Christian situation. And I mean, I definitely feel like she met Justin at the right time, because Justin fully cared about her. He did not judge her for the tape. All he wanted to do was get to know her, feel understood, and eventually fall in love with her. You know what I'm saying? And every time Keisha, had a low moment, Justin was right there. Justin was right there to pick her up every single time. And honestly, this was, like I said, it was beautifully written. But we also see that there's definitely some flaws in Keisha, okay? And here was one of those flaws. When she figured that if she went to prom with Christian, that everything would be okay and it would be, a good idea. Keep in mind, this was his suggestion. He suggested that they should go to prom together because that'll prove that they're good. And I'm just like, Christian, I'm still giving you a side eye, because this girl had to give up her spot at a school. And you're still there. You're still this athlete that's supposed to go off and do big things. You know what I'm saying? And honestly, when I think of the grand scheme of things, this was just to boost your ego. This was just so that you can go to school and be like, oh yeah, and I still got her as well. I'm sorry, I just did not like Christian's character at all. And I really hate that when it came down to discussing with her mother the situation with Christian, she's trying to explain to her mom, but Mom, I sent the video to him. I sent it to him and I'm the one who did this. No, Keisha. At the end of the day, yes, you shared a moment with that boy. You also shared the video with him. But again, this was something that was private between the two of you. He violated all of that. I'm sorry, I wanted Christian off my screen every time I saw him. Every single time. Okay? Here's the thing when it comes also to Keisha and Justin. One thing that I really did enjoy seeing, you guys, is how involved Justin's family was with Keisha. Like, honestly, a lot of people were able to pour into Keisha, and I feel like not enough people poured fully into Justin, okay? Because Keisha really was surrounded by a village. She had her cousins, she had her grandpa, her mom tried to do her best, but then also she got a second family when it came to being with Justin. Like, she was at the house cooking with everybody. She's in the pool playing with his little brother. Like, Keisha got a lot of people to pour into her, and I think that was absolutely beautiful. And, like, this is why I kept saying that, the fact that this came out in 2018, or should be set in 2018, I just thought that she would have had a bit more support, from other classmates or something like that. But I'm glad that she was able to at least get it at home. Like, Keisha's story, it deserved so much grace. It really did, because at the end of the day, this girl is at a high school. She's the only, it's about 3 black people, or at least 3 black kids that were like in her grade level or something like that. And first of all, you're trying to navigate that. Then you have a situation happen while you're at school. You're dating this guy. You think that y'all are good. He leaks a video of y'all, and your whole world literally blows up. And the fact that she was literally trying to hold all of that in for all of this time, my God, I felt so bad for her. The one thing that I wish that this show would have done is that we all know that Dawn told Keisha's mom, hey, I went to therapy, maybe you can, use some therapy as well. I also wish that we talked about getting Keisha some therapy, because again, like I said, having to navigate all of that and carry the weight of that on your shoulders, and it's been months, like, that was a lot. I feel like that was definitely a lot for her. And of course, I have to talk about Keisha's perspective when it comes to hiding this information from her mom. As we all know, like I said, Keisha's a track star. She knows that she wants to go to college. Like, Keisha was the girl who had her head on straight. And yes, her mom told her, don't end up pregnant. And I feel like that's the conversation that a lot of people have with, their parents. They just say, don't end up pregnant. But I think in their parents' minds, that would be the end all be all, not even thinking of a possible tape leaking or anything like that. So for this situation to have happened, I just feel like Keisha did not want to disappoint her mother. She already knows that her mom is struggling to, make ends meet, and how hard it was for them to transition from getting a full scholarship to this school to then having to transfer to a different school. Like, this is a whole lot that has been going on. And honestly, I think this is probably the first time that Keisha would be looked at differently from her mother. So her mom, has always thought Keisha is great, and Keisha is great. But this one, I guess you could say, misstep, she didn't want to be judged by her mom. And honestly, who would? Especially with something like this where your family's like, we raised you better than this. And that's a phrase that sometimes I wish the parents would not use, because yes, you absolutely raise your kids to be amazing human beings. But sometimes, things happen. Sometimes the plan doesn't always go as we thought it would. Sometimes our children are introduced to people that they mean our kids know well, okay? Because to me, Christian meant Keisha no good deeds over here, okay? Because I don't care how much he apologized. Baby, you should have posted a video online saying, I'm sorry for sending that to my friend who leaked this. To me, that would have been the real apology, sir. Now, enough about the tape. I honestly enjoyed seeing Keisha be loved on by Justin. Yes, they had their ups and downs, but I always felt like the times that they were apart, we also were able to see them grow in other areas, okay? And as we continue through watching this series, yes, Keisha and Justin, they were close. They loved each other. But as we were getting closer to making those college decisions, baby, I just already knew. I'm like, they're not going to make it to college. And honestly, I wouldn't expect for that to happen. Me personally, I always feel like, hey, you are about to do a huge transition in your life, okay? You are about to be a pre-adult. I'm going to call it a pre-adult because honestly, at 18, 19 years old, baby, you're not an adult. Really, you're an adult when you're like 25. Nonetheless, you want to go to college. You want to meet new people. You want to get that full experience. And because of the way Justin poured so much into Keisha, if anything happened to Keisha, that boy would be on a plane, train, or driving miles to go be by her side. Okay? And I'm not saying that Keisha wouldn't do that for him, but I feel like we saw this happen multiple times to where if one thing happened, baby, that boy was there. He was there for her. So when he had this idea of, oh yeah, well, I can go to Howard too, it's like, no. Baby, I need you to find yourself. Honestly, like I said, I wanted Keisha and Justin to find themselves. This relationship, it worked in the moment and the time that it was supposed to work, but both of them have a lot of growing that can be done. Let me go ahead and talk about Justin real quick, y'all. Listen, I know Justin seemed to be very clingy, but again, we have to remember this is the first time any girl has ever paid attention to Justin, okay? So I feel like his emotions were already heightened. You know what I mean? Now, throughout this series, you guys, I feel like we had to see Justin make quite a few decisions, okay? Because at first, it was all about basketball. Then it transitioned to, but my mom wants me to go to the college that she went to. But also at the same time, I love music. I want to be a producer. Like, Justin just needed to chill out for a minute and focus on himself. There were absolutely times where I was looking at Justin like, okay, Justin, right now everything's about Keisha, but what about you? Like, what you got going on? And don't get me wrong. I personally hate the idea that when you are a senior in high school, or actually a junior, because that's when you start applying to schools, that you need to have your whole life figured out. What college you're going to go to? What are you going to major in? What do you want your profession to be? I hate that because it's too much. That is absolutely too much pressure for anybody to be like, oh yeah, I'm going to do this, and this. And we create these ideas of, oh yeah, I'm going to go to school so I can be a business major and have my own business and all this stuff. And then a lot of times while you're there, you realize, oh no, I don't want to do that. Honestly, I feel like everyone should go to college undeclared. So that way you can kind of test it out, figure out what you want to do. Also, on top of that, think about it. How many people, they went to school for one thing and then they're doing a whole different career. So I always thought that it was wild that we are like, oh yeah, you need to make this decision when you're 18 years old. That's way too much pressure. Now, when it comes to Justin, I know that he said that he was going to take a gap year, but I don't feel like he would be going back to school. That's how I feel. I just wish that he would have gone to like a music program at least. I don't know if Northwestern had one or not. We didn't really explore that. But I found it interesting that by the time we got to the end of the series, he said he was working at CVS, trying to pay for him to like take some courses, and he was, trying to do this whole producer thing. And honestly, I feel like he can do that. He can absolutely take that time to hone in on what he really wants to do. And honestly, him making that decision, y'all, at the end of the episode, not the episode, but the series, that, this isn't going to work with him and Keisha. He has a lot of things that he needs to figure out, and that does not include Keisha. These are his own decisions. He cannot follow her to school. He can't do all the things to always be around her. I love that he made that decision for himself, but I think it also showed how much his parents poured into him, especially his father, to always be like, you're becoming a man now, so therefore you have to make, decisions. And I'm glad that he made that decision for himself. I'm very glad that it was him and not Keisha making that decision, because y'all, Justin would have followed that girl to the moon and back. And honestly, even when I think of the grand scheme of things, it didn't matter what school Justin would have went to. He absolutely would not have focused, okay? Because he does not like school. It didn't matter if it was going to be Howard or if it was going to be Northwestern. I know that there are some people who feel like, oh, well, he went to a PWI and maybe he felt this way because he went to that type of school. But let me just give y'all a little LA history, okay? When I heard the names of these schools, I feel like they're based on schools that are absolutely real. So, for example, Brookwood, I feel like that could be probably based off of like Brentwood, which is a predominantly white area, for real, for real. And that's why Keisha was one of the very few black people that went there. When I think of her going to St. Maria's, I think that was based on a school called St. Mary's that is an all-girls school here in LA. I think it may be in Inglewood. And then the school that he went to, it was Camden Hall. I think that's actually based on Campbell Hall. And I will say, is Campbell Hall, there are a lot of white kids that go there? Absolutely. But there are a lot of celebrities and black people with money. That's where they may send their kids so they can get a better education, okay? I do feel like, yes, Justin has gone to school with an array of kids, but I think that also tells a bigger story of, hey, yes, there's a chance that your kid may date someone who's white because that's who they go to school with. Because y'all know, his mom was so happy that he was dating a black girl. And I feel like there are some people like, oh, well, you sent your kid to this school that's full of all these white kids. Y'all, that's where the higher education is. Okay, I just got to be completely honest, especially in LA. I don't know how it is in other states, but in LA, yeah, if you want your kids to have a better education, and keep in mind, these are people with money, so they can afford for their child to have a better education. Yes, he's absolutely going to be attending a Camden Hall. He's not going to be going to Inglewood just so that he can be around black people. I'm sorry to tell y'all, the curriculum at Inglewood does not match the curriculum that is, at some of these predominantly white schools. Now, I will say, the school that she transferred to, the St. Maria school, if we're trying to match the energy of St. Mary's, then yes, it was absolutely on brand. But like I said, that was an all-girls school. So like I said, I don't think the issue would be that he would be going to a PWI at Northwestern. It was just that Justin doesn't do well in school, and that's absolutely fine. He just needed to find something that worked for him. And music, producing, that is something that will work for him. Another thing that I wanted to point out, I know that there were people who had problems with the scene of them being in the pool and he was getting all touchy-feely, but I will say this. I don't think that he was trying to force her into anything. I just think he was being a dumb teenager. I think that is what that moment was. And she was already feeling some type of way about him. So that's why she lashed out at him. It was like, spewing the same things that her dad said about how he was lost. Now, was Justin lost? He was. But at the same time, you guys, I feel like as much as Keisha knew that she wanted to go to Howard, she didn't have her life planned out either, okay? The only thing we knew is that she decided this is the college that I want to attend. We never knew what that girl wanted to study in school. We never knew if she wanted to become like a professional track star. We actually don't know what she wanted to do with her life. So I feel like as much as we were like, oh my gosh, Justin is so lost, Keisha ain't so sure about herself as well. Like, the only thing she knew was that was the college of her choice. However, when it comes to Justin, it seemed like we were trying to figure out what he wanted to do after college. After high school. And she was just one step above him by saying, oh, I want to go to Howard. Because at the end of the day, both of them, if they were to go to college, they would be going undeclared. But overall, you guys, when I think of Justin and Keisha, I feel like we really got to experience young love in a relationship. And did they have their ups and downs? Absolutely. But I feel like this show, it did showcase a beautiful story, okay? When it comes to Keisha, I feel like she was probably one of the most grounded characters that I have seen in a while, especially in the teen space. You know what I mean? Like, this girl was really smart. She was also emotionally intelligent. And, she was layered. She was ambitious. She was, willing to open up her heart to love because the last guy she was interested in played on her top. We got to see her, really go through emotions of being extremely vulnerable and trying to not lose herself in a relationship with Justin. Like, she still wanted to navigate and see the world. Like, I just feel like I don't know what we gonna get in season 2, because yes, they are renewed in season 2. I just don't know what we're going to get, y'all. I don't know if we're going to pick up when they are in college or after college. I'm so excited. And when it comes to Justin, you guys, we all know that, yes, he basically was Keisha's knight in shining armor. He was the opposite of her ex-boyfriend, but also he was another one who I feel like we got to see him be completely vulnerable. We got to see him experience all the emotions that you go through when it comes to being in your first relationship. We got to see someone dealing with mental health issues. You know what I'm saying? We got to see someone who does have ADHD and how he handled that situation. Because like I mentioned earlier, the boy didn't want to take his medicine. He didn't want to, use all of the resources that his parents gave him. But as the show progressed, he did start to refocus. You know what I mean? He started to put in the work. He started to use the tutors. And even when he got to having to write his college essay, you know what I'm saying? He realized that ADHD, that was his superpower. He is not a one-dimensional character. He was never one-dimensional. Like sometimes we see with these characters, like once they're a jock, we give them the jock look. We give them the jock attitude. That is not what we got with Justin's character. There was so many more complexities to this story. And honestly, I enjoyed watching him. I enjoyed watching Keisha. I enjoyed watching this full story develop. I feel like overall with this story, is this a teen romance? Yeah, but also Forever was more than that, okay? I feel like it was a great exploration of identity, of love, and also just the journey of self-discovery. I feel like Mara Braca killed. Oh my gosh. She did an amazing job creating a series that resonates with people who are teenagers themselves, people who were once teenagers. And I feel like you go through the emotions of the characters throughout the entire series. Okay? The ending of this series, it was really good as well, because when you think of it, was it realistic? Yes. And sometimes on TV shows, we love the fantasy. But in this situation, I love the realism. I love the fact that, no, we don't need a fairy tale, but just know these two characters, they're going to be okay. Yes, was it bittersweet to see them go their separate ways? Absolutely. But I also feel like this just gives us so much space for when we get to season 2. Baby, we're going to see so much growth with these characters. I am excited. I am so excited. Yes, you guys, Forever was renewed for a season 2. And keep in mind, this show just came out like a week ago. So the fact that they got a renewal so fast, I am so happy for Mara Brock Akil. I'm so happy for everyone who's on the show, the cast, the crew. Everybody did an amazing job, okay? So, y'all, that is my review for Forever. Please let me know what you guys thought about it. Did you enjoy watching it? Did you enjoy seeing the characters develop? How'd you feel about Keisha and Justin and, the parents? Let me know y'all thoughts in the comment section. Go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, share my video, and I will talk to you guys in my next review. Bye, guys.